Today, I want to help you make sense why you're so good at work but can't get your food life together. You can be amazing at work on one hand, the best computer programmer. You can write amazing code, you can do math, you can analyze, read a spreadsheet. Heck, one lady I just talked to, she was so good at her quality engineering job, she got promoted. Her team really liked her. She's now a program manager and she's doing really, really well at work. She's on track to be one of the youngest senior engineers at her company. Her professional life is on fire. But her food life is down in the toilet. She comes home and has a relatively healthy dinner, but after that, it all goes to hell. Ordering multiple times from DoorDash, going to the grocery store and not knowing what to buy, just feeling torn, walking down these aisles, knowing that she's been here before and she's made wrong decision and before and wondering, what the hell is wrong with her? Today, we're going to be looking at cognitive behavioral therapy as a perfect, as an ideal way to help logical professionals make sense of their eating habits. So I just want to talk about why cognitive behavioral therapy is perfect for left brain professionals. First of all, we need to just clear the air. If you are an engineer, mathematician, coder, what have you, you're at an increased risk for disordered eating. Nothing about you personally. It's just the profession you work in. And there are a few reasons why, which I want to cover real quick. Reason number one is your brain requires you to focus. So for hours at a time, you're focusing and thinking. Yet for hours at a time, that means you're not present in your body. You're doing abstract thought in your left brain. So the very nature of your job is disconnecting you from your body. And then that focus is fueled oftentimes by deadlines. I'm in Silicon Valley right now. I know that there's big tech companies. I work with people who are in big tech companies. That's why I know that they're driven by deadlines. Deadlines. Deadlines make you dead. So, you got all this concentrative energy that's disconnecting you from your body, that's being fueled by stress. Do you see the combination here? You're out of your body. You're thinking. And the very things that make you successful at work are weighing you down. When you use your logical brain to make sense of food, you screw things up. It doesn't work that way. I know. It'd be nice. I know it feels like food should be logical. Nutrition should be logical. But if you're in a place right now where you have continually tried to manage your food and it just drives you crazy, then perhaps you recognize that food is not just logical. Because if it were logical, you could do it like you did work. If it were logical, then you could control it. But food is emotional. Food is emotional. And so what's happening is you got this overdeveloped left brain thinking muscle that's like a huge bicep. It's like imagine your arm is just completely Arnold Schwarzenegger on your left side. But then on your right side, it's all flimsy. And so what happens is it's like you're trying to use that big, strong left arm, that big, strong thinking brain to do the work of the right hand. But hey, look at this. My right hand, it can scratch my left shoulder pretty good, but my left hand, it can't scratch it so well. It's at a different angle. So our logical brain, it's at the wrong angle for us to talk about food. Sure, you might be able to come up with a meal plan that's nice and logical, a nutrition plan, that's great. But unless we develop the other muscles in our brain, our emotional muscles, our body muscles, our ability to feel and to notice what actually feels good and to take care of ourselves, to meet our emotions, unless we take care of the right side of our brain, we're always going to be lopsided. And that's what I see so many professionals trying to do. They're essentially lopsided with this big thinking brain, and they're trying to think their way through food. But that's like trying to think your way into lifting a weight. It's like trying to think your way into love. You can't. You gotta feel it out. You gotta feel it out. And honestly, one of the hardest parts about this whole thing is that when you use your thinking brain and you fail, oftentimes you make the wrong conclusion. You say, my body is, I don't trust my body. I feel afraid of my body. Like, isn't that's sad. Being afraid of your body. It's very sad. And when you're afraid of your body, this fear drives you to drive even more control over your food, more rigid plans, more diets, more books to read. You're at war with food, but we can't be at war with food. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so eventually it seems like people, when they reach out to me, somehow they find my website, do a lot of this blogging stuff. Google puts the word out there, and they're at war with food, and they know that something isn't wrong. And the opposite of logical is intuitive. The opposite of logical is emotional. So people are drawn and they say, hey, maybe there's something here. And so I actually want to take this point where someone has been driven crazy by the logical nature of food and how it doesn't work, and actually give them a useful piece of advice or just a tidbit to think about. And that tidbit is cognitive behavioral therapy. What's great about cognitive behavioral therapy is that it matches, it's almost a perfect fit for thinking people. If you think about it, cognitive means thinking. Cognitive means your brain. So here's like almost a perfect therapy for professionals who use their left brain, because cognitive therapy is about thinking. And in particular, what cognitive therapy is really nice, has a really good thing going for it, is that it's simple. It's a simple 4-step structure. Very easy to understand. In just a minute, I'll actually go through that structure below. But if you're coming from a logical place, having a therapy that's organized, that's very easy to understand, that's structured into 4 different steps, very, very nice. Very nice. Instead of having to do all this emotional work about your childhood, instead of having to do all this other stuff, you get this nice simple framework. And the directions of cognitive behavioral therapy all center, most of them center around examining your thoughts. Examining, studying, analyzing, measuring, recording your thoughts. Do you see how this approach to your thoughts is very similar to your approach to your job? At your job, you are thinking, measuring, analyzing, recording, and now you're doing that with your thoughts. And so let's get in that 4-step framework. Beliefs, thoughts, interpretations, actions. Beliefs, thoughts, interpretations, actions. Beliefs lead to thoughts. Thoughts lead to interpretations and feelings, and these things lead to action. And so by studying your actions, you can understand your thoughts. And by studying your thoughts, you can interpret, you can infer your beliefs. It's it's very simple. Very simple. The exercise I have people do, one of the most exciting exercises, this is about, admittedly, this is on like week 12, or no, sorry, lesson 12. This would be week 6 in the program. But we do cognitive behavioral therapy after we've built up a more richer skill set to get the right brain involved. But the cognitive behavioral therapy skill set is then looking at what thoughts you are having before you eat. Let me repeat that. Literally write down what you're thinking before you eat. Write it on a note card, write it on a journal, and here's what'll happen. You'll write down some thoughts. I'm stressed out right now. I need food. Great, that's your thought. Now, how do you determine the belief about that thought? It's pretty simple. If you're thinking, I need food to manage stress, then your belief is that you need food to manage stress. And the crazy thing is, I know it sounds crazy that we might even have that belief. You need food to manage stress? Really? Do you really need food to manage stress? It sounds like such a corny belief. But when you write down this process, you actually discover that your subconscious brain has all these weird beliefs that are guiding your behavior. And once you become aware of them, it's like the switch changes. You go from a passive state to a more active state. There's something very powerful about understanding how your beliefs change your behavior. And once you get this information, you are much more free to make wiser decisions because you know that the programs controlling your mind are not the best programs. And so you have more control about which programs you choose to use. And the word program and schema, and just like cognitive and cognition, cognitive behavior therapy, all the language of cognitive behavioral therapy is very similar to computer science. Schemas, programmings, default conditioning, operant conditioning, sequences of thought and action. These are all, so cognitive behavioral therapy and computer science, they were developed in the 1980s. They are almost developed together. And in fact, much of the research on cognitive behavioral therapy formed some of the language that is used today in computer science. For example, central processing unit. That's a cognitive behavioral therapy term. Scientists needed a term that described the function of the brain. Central processing unit, CPU. And so a lot of the language from cognitive behavioral therapy is found in computer science, which again makes it familiar to the left brain professional. It's something that's easily digestible with its language, with its logical structure, with its approach towards measuring thoughts that are already being overused. But this approach really, really helps balance it out. So with that being said, I want you to leave me a comment down below. What do you think about cognitive behavioral therapy? And then have a great day. Peace.